When a room gets louder and voices overlap, and energy spikes, you might notice yourself growing quieter, pulling inward, while others grow more expressive. And psychology says this reaction is not social weakness or lack of confidence, because silence in chaos often reflects a brain that processes information deeply, carefully, and internally rather than reacting outwardly and quickly. And that quiet shift is your mind choosing understanding over noise. This happens because your brain is wired differently in high-stimulation environments, and research shows that people who become quiet in loud situations often have higher sensory awareness, stronger internal processing, and greater cognitive depth, meaning your silence is not absence. It is active mental work happening beneath the surface. Psychology says the brain has a threshold for stimulation, and when noise, movement, and social signals exceed that threshold, the nervous system of reflective people shifts inward to maintain balance. And this is linked to sensory processing sensitivity, which means your brain absorbs more detail, more tone, more emotion at once. So, instead of competing with the noise, it conserves energy by listening, observing, and filtering rather than speaking. Research also shows that quieter responses in chaos are connected to inhibitory control, which is the brain's ability to pause reactions and choose responses deliberately. And when others speak impulsively, your brain is slowing things down, evaluating context, and deciding what actually needs to be said. And this ability is associated with higher emotional regulation and thoughtful decision making, even though it often goes unnoticed. Your brain is also engaged in depth processing, which means you naturally focus on meaning rather than volume, and psychology explains that deep processors prefer fewer but more meaningful inputs. So when multiple conversations collide, your mind steps back to understand the bigger picture, reading dynamics, noticing shifts in tone, and tracking emotional undercurrents rather than adding more noise to an already crowded space. Another reason is cognitive load, because research shows loud environments increase mental demand, and people with high internal awareness manage this load by reducing output, not because they have nothing to say, but because speaking requires additional processing and your brain prioritizes comprehension first, which is why you often speak later with clarity rather than reacting immediately with noise. Psychology also points to social attunement, which is the ability to sense group energy and emotional flow, and quieter individuals often act as stabilizers in chaotic settings, grounding the environment through calm presence and thoughtful responses, and studies link this trait to leadership, emotional intelligence, and long-term trust, even if it is rarely celebrated in loud cultures. So when you get quiet as others get loud, remember, this behavior reflects awareness, regulation, and depth, and psychology says these traits are linked to insight, maturity, and strong relational intelligence, which means your silence is not emptiness, it is strength operating quietly. If this felt like someone finally explained your behavior, subscribe for more psychology that reframes quiet traits into power, and share this with someone who always gets quieter when the world gets louder.